is something really interesting. Not the other wasn't. But here is one of the things, and now first I want to explain it to you first. Okay, so we have a situation where we have a break-even point. So this is return on investment. There's a break-even point. And there's the positive return on investment. Let's see, ROI plus. And there's an ROI negative. So it's not a return on investment yet. If you look at this, the J curve, this is called a J curve. And so you look at this, you spend some money. And if you're a really good company, you get the money back real quick and make a profit on it. If everything works out well, right? If you're the average company, then what happens is you struggle through this and you make return on investment. Okay? And if you just make bad decisions, then your return on investment just never gets there. You're spending money. So, that's a J curve. This is what it should look like. This is what most of the time it probably looks like. And this is what sometimes looks like. Okay. Now, does that look like our butterfly curve? And are we comparing apples and oranges, or are we comparing apples and dogs? How close is it? Sure. And remember, I kept hinting to this before, is that we are exactly there, right? We're here, and return on investment means we're actually making a profit now. Okay, so now that's exactly the same curve. Does that have anything to do with the Valley of Despair?
Sure. Giving us a range.
But the return on investment has a lot to do with the butterfly curve, because it's one of the things that causes the dip. But it has nothing to do with personality, has nothing to do with Valley of Despair, has nothing to do. Now you can say that because of this, I fear because I own the company, or because of that, but that's a different story, right? Because you can fear and go through a Valley of Despair and have to do this and still make great profit, and still go through Valley of Despair. Now, I talked to somebody. There's a company out there called North Point, and I was going to work with them at one time. But they have a great model, and they can show you I think it's something like 400 or 500 different questions to ask that will tell you whether you're this company or that company. So there's something like they can bring a group of people together in a room like this and ask you a full day's worth of questions, and tomorrow tell you what answers you have to get in order to move that curve over to here in one day. And it gave an example with a large university. It starts with a V, and how there was a project they had to do, and the best estimate was going to be a $2 million project. After it went through this process, it turned out to be a $10 million project because they didn't have all the questions answered, right? Is that a good thing or bad thing? Because it would have been $10 million anyway. They just didn't know it. So now, can you imagine that might have saved somebody's job? That might have shortened the Valley of Despair, or shortened the curve, because they actually understood what they had to go out and gain and learn in order to get there. And can you imagine if you have $1 million project and you go through this full day of pain? It was a full day of pain going through 400 questions with all the right people in the room. But if you could suffer through that, you could actually tell where you are and tell whether it's going to be over here or over here. The guy who started that company did the same thing for IBM. So he developed it for IBM. He took his knowledge and developed a generic one that any company can use. And so it's really cool.
What kind of question? Bringing him over to our side.
The question is, why can't you just fire everybody and bring in people who like it? Well, first off, you can't find that many people. and the people you bring have their own baggage, and the hardest thing to do. When I was working at where I used to work, I used to tell people who are coming in, I says, part of your job description is to go out and market. But let me warn you, it's going to take you a year before you bring anything in, because it'll take you a year to learn the system. And so every time you have someone leave, it takes a certain amount of time, learning curve, just to get them to where the last person was. And the most valuable resource you've heard is people, right? But one of the reasons it's most valuable is because you can buy a new car in your fleet, you can buy a new machine, but it takes a lot longer learning curve for the person that does that machine to fit into that operation. And so it's the most expensive thing to change. And if you go out and find somebody, then there's also a fee associated with that. Not to mention your time and someone's time to interview. And